Picture a professional restaurant kitchen during like the dinner rush.
Okay.
You have 5 chefs, and they are all trying to cook a single complex dish in the exact same pot at the exact same time.
Oh, ma'am, that is a guaranteed recipe for absolute disaster.
Right.
I mean, if you know anything about cooking or just human nature, there would be bumped elbows and,
Spill broth everywhere.
yeah, screaming chaos.
That's total chaos. But what if somehow the physical laws of that kitchen just shifted?
What do you mean?
Like, what if those 5 chefs could chop and stir and season simultaneously, completely aware of what the others were doing without ever once getting in each other's way?
Well, you're describing a physical impossibility.
Exactly.
I mean, if 2 people reach for the same carrot at the exact same millisecond they collide, physics dictates that 2 objects cannot occupy the same space.
But that exact impossible scenario is something we pull off every single day at work.
Right.
We do it without even blinking. And so today our deep dive is into the modern digital workspace. And our source material for this is, well, on the surface, it is incredibly mundane.
Very mundane, yeah.
We are looking at the official Google Docs editor's help page for Google Slides.
The help center menu. That is definitely a test of our audience's trust, I gotta say.
It is, but stick with us. The mission of this deep dive is to look right past those basic menu links. We are going to extract the underlying philosophy of modern digital collaboration, how we manage workflows, and the massive global infrastructure hidden entirely in plain sight within this simple index.
It's all right there.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the core pitch of the software itself. Because the source explicitly states 3 massive things about Google Slides.
Right.
Multiple people can work on a presentation at the same time, you can see changes as they're made, and every change is automatically saved.
Which is really the definition of the modern multiplayer work philosophy.
Yeah, multiplayer like a video game.
Exactly. We've completely moved away from the lone genius working in an offline silo.
But I want to stick on the mechanics of that for a second, because I think we take it for granted. Mechanically, how are 5 people typing in the exact same text box without the entire server just catching fire?
Right.
Because going back to our kitchen analogy, if I delete a word on my screen and you are highlighting that same word 1,000 miles away, the system should logically crash.
It should, but it doesn't crash because of a computer science concept called operational transformation, or in some systems, conflict-free replicated data types.
Yeah.
Or CRDT.
CRDT, okay.
Yeah. So to borrow your kitchen analogy, it's not actually 5 chefs standing around one physical pot.
Oh, okay.
It's as if every chef has their own identical private cutting board. So when Chef A chops a carrot, a digital runner instantly sends a message to Chef B's station saying, add chopped carrots here at this exact coordinate.
Oh, wow.
And the system resolves the timing of those actions. So the milliseconds of latency between, say, New York and Tokyo, it figures that out so the soup never breaks.
That is wild.
Right, so you feel like you are touching the same document, but you are actually interacting with a localized instance that is mathematically negotiating with every other instance in real time.
See, that makes changes as they're made bullet point feel a lot more profound.
Oh, for sure.
But beyond the math, does that automatic save feature fundamentally change our psychology as creators?
I think so, yeah.
Because the paralyzing existential fear of losing our work when a computer crashes, that's just been completely removed from the equation.
Right. What's fascinating here is how the architecture of the tool actually dictates the emotional state of the worker.
How so?
Well, think about it. A decade or 2 ago, creating a digital document was this high-wire act of anxiety.
Oh yeah, constantly hitting save.
Exactly. Terrified that a power flicker would just wipe out hours of your life.
I used to save multiple versions on different hard drives just to be safe. You'd end up with a folder full of files named, presentation version 4 final.
Oh yeah, and the presentation version 4 final for real.
Yes, and final updated Tuesday.
The absolute chaos of version control. But by making collaboration synchronous and saving every keystroke to a remote server instantly, the software just eliminates that chaos.
It's gone.
Right? There was only one source of truth. The document is no longer a static object that you email back and forth across the country. It is a living, breathing space.
Okay, so if the file is a living space where 5 chefs are constantly throwing ingredients into the pot, you need a very clear prep list to prevent total anarchy.
You do.
Which is where the user journey comes into play. And you can see that journey mapped out in the specific sequence of this help menu.
Yeah, the structure of the help topics essentially tells the story of how an idea becomes a reality.
So let me read the specific sequence from the source.
Yeah.
We have get started, then edit and customize, then present, then print, publish, or change viewing settings, followed by collaborate, and finally use slides recording. Oh, and sitting in the middle of all that is shortcuts and tools. Now, I actually have a big problem with this list.
Really, where's the friction?
Well, the glaring contrast in the options they provide side by side. We have deeply traditional analog options like print sitting right next to highly modern asynchronous digital-first options like use slides recording.
Right.
To me, the presentation format seems to be having a massive identity crisis. It's frantically trying to cater to the 1990s wood-paneled boardroom and the 2024 remote asynchronous workforce at the exact same time. It just feels incredibly disjointed.
Well, I wouldn't call it an identity crisis. I think it's a carefully designed, highly intentional roadmap that directly mirrors the human creative process.
Mirroring human creativity from a drop-down help menu.
I know it sounds like a stretch, but think about how you build anything. First, you have initiation facing the blank page, right? That's the get started section.
Okay.
Then you move into refinement, where you are tweaking fonts, shaping the narrative, building the actual argument. That's edit and customize.
Sure.
Then you reach the point of execution, which is present. But your point about print versus use slides recording is actually the most crucial part of this life cycle.
Because it's about distribution.
It's exactly distribution. How does the idea live on after the meeting ends?
Right.
And the reason both exist is that the tool is acting as a bridge between physical and digital working worlds.
Because people still print things.
A massive portion of the global economy still operates on printed paper.
Yeah.
Think of legal firms, certain government sectors, or international logistics, where physical manifests are handed across the table.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But simultaneously, a massive portion of the workforce operates across time zones where a live presentation is literally impossible.
Right, you can't get everyone on a Zoom call at 3 a.m.
Exactly. So you need use slides recording so someone can watch your pitch 12 hours later in a different hemisphere. The software isn't confused. It is acting as a universal translator between different eras of work culture.
Okay, I see the life cycle argument, initiation, refinement, execution, distribution. But what about that shortcuts and tools section? It just feels like a random catch-all bucket they threw right in the middle.
I don't see it as random at all. I see that as a deliberate space for user growth. You know, when you first start using a tool, you just want to know how to put text on a slide.
Yeah.
You are purely focused on survival.
Just getting it done. Yeah.
But eventually you hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
You want to get faster. You want to automate repetitive tasks. You want to move from being a beginner to a power user.
Oh, okay.
Shortcuts and tools is the platform's way of facilitating that mastery. It's the moment the training wheels come off.
So if the software is acting as a translator between eras accommodating both the physical printouts and the asynchronous video recordings, it has to be designed for users who live entirely different lifestyles.
Exactly.
And you can see them building for those different lifestyles in 3 very specific, seemingly unrelated features listed in the source. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
We have Gemini in Docs editors, we have a toggle to enable dark mode, and we have a heavy emphasis on community, specifically post to the help community, and get answers from community members. Let me try to map this out, because Gemini is clearly about productivity. Dark mode is about user comfort. But where does a community forum fit into a traditional software model?
Well, if we synthesize these 3 distinct elements, they perfectly reflect the triad of modern software priorities. Your guess is close, but let's look at the actual human behavior driving them.
Okay.
First, productivity. Gemini isn't just a spell checker. It's AI assistance integrated directly into the editor itself.
Right. It's not a separate app. You have to open in a new tab.
Exactly. It's a coworker sitting right there on the slide with you, ready to generate an image or summarize text.
Okay.
It is raw injected efficiency designed to eliminate that blank page anxiety we talked about earlier.
It's the coworker who never sleeps, constantly feeding you first drafts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you have the second pillar, which you called comfort, but is better described as endurance.
Endurance. Okay.
And that's dark mode.
Which is just the digital equivalent of dimming the harsh fluorescent office lights, right?
Well, it goes much deeper than aesthetic preference.
Yeah.
By offering ergonomic customization like dark mode, the platform is openly acknowledging a very grim reality of modern work.
The always-on culture.
The always-on culture. Users are staring at these screens for incredibly unhealthy amounts of time, and dark mode reduces blue light emission, which disrupts melatonin production and circadian rhythms.
Wow, so it's biological.
Yeah, we are building software specifically optimized for people working at 11:30 p.m. in a dark bedroom, while their partner is sleeping next to them.
That is a very specific and very real image.
Right. It's not just a cool visual theme, it's an ergonomic band-aid for
Oh,
burnout.
yeah.
The software is basically saying, we know you live inside this interface. Let's make it a little less painful on your retinas.
That is a stark way to look at it. Corporate responsibility for eye strain baked right into the interface because we just refuse to log off.
Yeah. And the third pillar is peer-to-peer support, which is the community feature.
Right. The forums.
Because top-down help, where a company writes a static manual and hands it to you, is just no longer viable. Cloud software changes way too fast.
Well, features drop weekly now.
Exactly. By decentralizing knowledge and actively pushing users to answer each other's questions, they create a self-sustaining ecosystem.
Because the users are constantly discovering edge cases.
Yes.
Like someone in accounting builds a workflow to automate expense reports that the original Google developers never even dreamed of. And the community forum is where that tribal knowledge gets traded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this triad shows a massive shift in how tech companies view their products. They no longer view software as a mere tool that you pick up, use, and put back in the toolbox.
They're designing an environment.
An environment, right. A place where you are expected to dwell for 8 to 12 hours a day, to be ergonomically sustained, to get AI companionship, and to interact with other citizens of that same environment.
An environment. But for an environment to support a true global community, it has to speak their language. Which brings us to the massive, often hidden footprint of this platform. The sheer scale of what is quietly running in the background of this help page is honestly staggering.
You talk about the localization list.
The localization list is exhaustive. I mean, the source lists dozens and dozens of supported languages. We are talking Catalan, Danish, Hungarian, Malay, Vietnamese, Telugu, Thai, Arabic, and that's barely scratching the surface.
Just a fraction, yeah.
But what really caught my eye isn't just the sheer number of distinct languages, it's the regional specificities. Like, they don't just have English. They deliberately separate English for the United Kingdom and English for the U.S.
Right.
They specifically differentiate between Spanish and Spanish for Latin America, between Portuguese and Portuguese for Brazil. They even separate Chinese simplified and Chinese traditional.
Yep.
So what does this all mean? When I look at this list, I don't just see translation. Is this massive level of localized support the ultimate invisible barrier to entry? Like, if a new tech startup wants to build a presentation tool today to compete, do they have to launch with this level of nuance?
Oh, it is an incredible moat around their business.
Yeah.
But the technical challenge behind that list is really a masterclass in digital inclusivity. It goes far beyond just opening a dictionary and swapping the word file for Arquido.
Because of the cultural nuances.
Cultural nuances, date formats, currency symbols, keyboard layouts. I mean, think about the architectural nightmare of right-to-left languages.
Oh, right. You mentioned Arabic earlier.
Yeah. When a user selects Arabic or Hebrew, the software doesn't just change the words. The entire user interface has to physically mirror itself. The menus move from the left side of the screen to the right. The cursor moves in the opposite direction.
But wait, going back to our kitchen analogy and the operational transformation we discussed earlier, if I am in New York using U.S. English and my coworker is in Cairo using Arabic, we are in the same file.
That is the magic. The interface physically flips, the language changes, the keyboard inputs change, but the underlying CRDP code structure remains perfectly synchronized.
That's incredible.
A user in Tokyo working in Japanese and a user in Cairo working in Arabic can be in the exact same slide deck at the exact same millisecond, seeing each other's cursors move.
Oh, wow.
The software translates the environment for the local user while keeping the shared output completely unified.
We are all standing in the exact same digital room, but the software is actively painting the walls, moving the furniture, and changing the lighting for every single person in it, depending on where they live.
That's a great way to put it. And to maintain a room of that magnitude, one that holds millions of people simultaneously across different cultures and legal jurisdictions, you need some very strict underlying house rules.
Which brings us to the very bottom of the source material, the fine print.
Right.
The presence of the privacy policy and the terms of service. Nobody clicks those links unless they're incredibly bored or their lawyer is holding them hostage.
Yeah, we usually just gloss over them as legal boilerplate. But in the context of an AI-powered, globally synchronized, multilingual environment, those links are doing incredibly heavy lifting.
How so?
This raises an important question about data sovereignty and global standardization. Every one of those regions we just talked about, Brazil, the UK, Vietnam, They all have entirely different laws about data privacy.
Right, the GDPR in Europe is vastly different from data laws in the US.
It's exactly. The privacy policy and terms of service act as the necessary legal bedrock. They're the absolute foundation that allows this massive multilingual playground to operate safely without violating international law.
Okay, so they're not just arbitrary rules.
No, they dictate how the AI uses your keystrokes, how long your deleted slides are retained on a server, and who ultimately owns the intellectual property of the ideas you brainstorm.
Wow.
Without that unglamorous legal framework, the entire ecosystem collapses under a wave of international lawsuits overnight.
So we've gone from a simple list of menu options on a help page to uncovering a globally synchronized AI-assisted work environment that bridges languages and time zones.
It's a lot.
It is. If you are listening to this, you might be asking yourself, why should I care about the underlying architecture of a presentation tool? And the answer is that understanding the structure transforms you. It takes you from being just a passive user mindlessly clicking through a slide deck into someone who actually understands the psychology, the global scale, and the fundamental workflow of modern digital ecosystems.
Right? You aren't just using a tool. You are participating in a massive shift in how humanity collaborates.
A shift that, honestly, it comes with some fascinating and perhaps slightly unsettling implications for how we actually think and create.
Unsettling in what way?
Well, let's build directly on that very first point we pulled from the source material. The fact that every change is automatically saved and you can see changes as they're made.
But we celebrated that.
Yeah.
We celebrated the end of the chaotic final version file naming and the end of version control anxiety.
Yeah. No more losing 3 hours of work to a computer crash.
But flip that over and look at the dark side of synchronous editing.
Okay.
If every single keystroke, every typo, every deleted idea, and every half-baked thought from every user across the globe is permanently recorded, mathematically synced, and auto-saved in real time for your collaborators to see,
Yeah.
what happens to the concept of the first draft?
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought of that.
Traditionally, a first draft was a private sanctuary.
Yeah.
It was a space where you were allowed to be bad at your job.
You could write something terrible, realize it was illogical, delete the whole paragraph, and no one in the world would ever know.
Exactly. It was safe. But in this synchronized multiplayer environment,
Right.
that sanctuary is entirely gone. We are entering an era where the creative process itself, our mistakes, our dead ends, our private, messy thought processes is no longer private at all.
It's all out there.
It is an immediate, highly visible part of the permanent collaborative record.
Yeah.
Your boss or your client could literally watch your cursor hesitate.
That is incredibly eerie. The safety net of the autosave is also a high-powered microscope on our every mistake. It completely changes the vulnerability of sitting down to write.
It really does.
Well, that is a heavy, powerful thought to leave on. Keep that in mind the next time you log in. See those little colored cursors from your colleagues popping up around the screen and start typing on a blank slide. You're never really drafting alone.
Never.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the digital workspace.